Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I am here with.
Hello, I'm Nicholas. I write TTRPG books and I work with Eren Chronicles.
And I'm Nikos. I'm pretty much the same, ex-musician, currently a writer, and Nicholas's colleague, a very common name in Greece, apparently.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about Exordium, Origins of Mythos. So I have not looked at this book yet, but this book just gives me feeling of those classic, Greek and Roman mythological epic adventures from way back, some of the Norse mythology and things like that. Things very, very last world-ending chaotic events. So yes. So this is a system for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Tell me, I'm curious, how would you describe this project?
So, for the practical aspect, it's a supplement for the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So, what it effectively introduces to the game is narratives that delve into the genre of mythos from different cultural backgrounds. We wanted to go beyond the epic scope of Dungeons and Dragons and go into the more mythical storytelling aspect that there is. This is done through the introduction of 15 mythic paths, which is effectively character options that go on top of the subclass and class of a character, which progress through the accomplishment of trials, much like Hercules, for example, was completing trials. Your character completes trials and advance in this way. So this consists the personal saga of a character. As these trials are being accomplished, a character gains fame and infamy, effectively creating their own legacy. And through this legacy, they attract the ire of a nemesis, which is pretty much their direct counterpart. So pretty much what Hera was to Hercules. Half the book is about the characters, and the second half of the book is about the antagonists, the nemesis, the villains. This is like in a very quick manner the contents of the book. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I think it pretty much summarized the book. We could go in depth on any of these, but yeah, this is the basic pitch. We give you heroes, and we also give you creatures that will try to defeat these heroes.
So this is very exciting because you probably heard some of the criticism about 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, where when it comes to the last levels, the higher level adventures are kind of lacking, and you would think that with the coming new edition coming down a couple of years from now, that there would be some sort of like, all right, here's the final great adventure for this edition, and nothing like that's coming out. So seeing this is a great way, at least for my adventures, to kind of like, all right, if we decide to move into something else or whatever, we have something epically planned for the group. So if I ask, I know I'm really excited about this, as you can tell, because it just looks so good. If I may ask, when did the idea for this come about?
We were discussing before that that we wanted to make something that was great in scale, and because we are all playing D&D for many years now, we also feel that there is this kind of lacking at higher levels. As a note, I recently realized that even Baldur's Gate 3 maxes the levels at 12 because the game kind of breaks apart after that. So I think this is a pretty well-known thing that there are issues at higher levels, and we are people that like to see great things in lower levels, but we also wanted to fill that gap and also draw from our own mythos, from the Greek mythos or from the general European mythos. And in the beginning, we tried to do like some form of epic forms for the characters. But when we start the project, as we go on, we realize what the project should be, and we started, more ideas popped up, and the Mythos theme started to fill in and mold all of our ideas around it. And I think we slowly just started gaining a direction as we were creating. So we basically started from creating, in the beginning, we even called it something like Metamorphosis. And then we started going down the path of, making something mythical.
If I may add on this,
Yeah, of course.
The concept of epic level in Dungeons and Dragons usually lacks uniqueness. You just go up and higher and higher, and you do extraordinary feats, but in the settings that you play, other people have done that too. So you're doing effectively hard things, difficult things. But these things are not unique, and they don't have moral dilemmas necessarily, and they do not have parables in them. So this is effectively what differentiates, in my mind, a mythic story from an epic story, an action-packed epic story. A mythos is always about the strife of the hero and the obstacles they have to overcome. And we try to embed that in the narrative of these mythic paths like the story tropes.
As a minor thing to add, I know that we talk a lot about high levels, but we went into great effort to make the book relevant for all tiers of play. So even if you are level 3 or 5, the content is still balanced. There are, of course, monsters that are very high CR. You shouldn't use those if your party is level 5. But the mythic paths can work for all tiers of play.
Can you tell us a little bit about the art direction for this book?
An important and very crucial factor about our team is that we did this book effectively as three people team. So we are the art directors, we are the layout artists, we are the marketing managers. We just we put a fake mustache and a nose, and then we are like putting a hat on and we're someone else. So I did the art direction. I am completely, untrained in this subject, but I was very lucky to have friends who are artists and concept artists who helped me a great deal navigate around the composition of the book. And this is a great chance to also give a shout out to a wonderful friend, Othon Nikolaidis, who has illustrated a great part of the book himself, but also helped me a lot create the final version of it, art-wise.
I would like to add that Nikos is kind of selling himself short. He is self-taught, but he's doing a lot of this. Yeah, he has some help from friends, but he has grown so much as a layout artist, if he can call himself that, because as we said, everyone wears different hats to be able to produce the final book. And he's basically been doing all of the layout for every book Eren Chronicles has released. As a reference, we have released 8 books before that. They were all digital, and Exordium, Origins of Mythos, is our first physical hardback book.
So yeah, let's talk about the player options for when they reach these high levels. You have, wow, at least 75 new feats in this book. That's incredible amount, and that's exciting. What can you tell us about these feats and the creation process behind it?
So basically, we started off going into the mythic talents, which is like the feats that you're referring to. We started off by tweaking our own mechanics. So the first ones were messing around with the mechanics that we introduced through the mythic paths. We wanted to have the mythic paths entail everything that it needs for the path to paint a picture for the player. And then we went to the talents to customize it. For instance, why wouldn't the demoniac have wings, like wings? So we would have a talent allowing them to gain fly speed with sprouting wings. These were the first ones. Then we would go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then we would try to introduce things that we would like to see in the 5th edition in general, because the talents offer a high customization potential for the characters. So it was, in truth, it was our playground to kind of put everything we ever wished to see in the 5th edition through the system of feat acquiring.
Yeah, and the talents or feats, they offer a lot of replayability for a player. So if a player decides to play the Jester, and they have a campaign as a Jester, they had a lot of fun, maybe the next time they can play the Jester again, and through selecting different talents, have a completely different experience, because with the talents, we wanted some mythic paths to be able to lean on some specific storytelling tropes. For example, as we said, the demoniac could have wings, but a player might envision a demoniac without wings. So you have the option to pick it up, and it is not forced upon you. So this is basically how it worked. We also wanted to provide alternate storytelling themes for its mythic path through the talents.
For instance, apart from this example that we gave, the talents are a way for the Death Knight to have a nightmare steed, which is very iconic of the Death Knight. But again, it shouldn't occupy a place in its base features. So we made it a talent. But then we would like to have a talent where the Paladin can smite as an area of effect arc, because why not? And we kept tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, and we ended up having more than 75 options.
So let's talk a bit about Mythic Paths. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but these sound like, so in previous editions of D&D, there used to be that where you get to reach a certain high level, there's these like choices you can make about what more you can be. You couldn't be, if you were like a I'm gonna make just an example. Let's say if you were like a high level barbarian, you could be like a super champion from levels like 11 and higher and so forth. So you had like these paths you could choose. Is that what this is in a sense? Is where it's like choices so that if fighters, wizards, whenever they reach a certain high level, they could choose this instead of just being another more higher level wizard or fighter.
So, first of all, just to state it for the audience, the mythic paths are all class agnostic. You can be whatever class and whatever subclass and be whatever mythic path. So you could be a barbarian prophet, you could be a wizard prophet, or you could be a rogue prophet, for instance. That said, the idea is that they work in parallel with everything else. You could pick it up from level 1, from level 6, from level 20, and they scale according to the tier of play that you wish to introduce them at. They are always introduced in tandem with the DM's cooperation, because it is like to embark on a mythic path, some prerequisites must be met, and usually they're designed along with the DM. But then it carries on by itself, and it is its own thing. It's not exactly the archmage to a wizard or the archdruid to a druid. It's more like what the character is going to be remembered for. It's more like a personal saga that is unique to this character. No one before will have experienced that particular story in the world where the character lives in. So it would not be comparable in terms of power from one barbarian to another, or in terms of potential, but in terms of a very unique story that they are about to experience through this mythic path.
I would also like to add that these mythic paths do not scale with experience points. They scale by completing epic quests, as we mentioned before. So they do not come in conflict with the progression of the normal class. And this gives the DM enough of control over it so that they may introduce the appropriate challenge to advance a mythic path at the time that they consider it is healthy for the game. They can also introduce the mythic paths package as a whole at the time that they believe is healthy for the game. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to add. Yeah.
As a very, to summarize it, when you're a wizard, you are considered an archmage on level 20, let's say. You are as strong as you can get. But if you are an archmage who is a pirate, you could be a seafarer. If you are an archmage who is a tyrant who rules over a magocracy dominion, you are a warlord. If you are an archmage who, I don't know, embraces the deathly powers, you become a lich. So this is how I mean that the mythic path with everything else goes in parallel.
And you have 10 mythic paths. I see Colossus, Death Knight, Demoniac, Exemplar, the Hellspawn, Jester, the Lich, Prophet, and the Warlord. Do you have any favorites, I guess you could say?
For the record, I wanted to say that the mythic paths are actually 15 because we had a lot of stretch goals unlocked. The original ones were 10, yes. So we also added the Apocryphist, which is a more eldritch-like creature. The Seafarer, as Nikos mentioned before, which is a gallant adventurer upon a vessel. It's the Dragon Slayer, which has to do with dragons, obviously.
The Primordial?
I'm missing the Primordial, but which one was the... It's one more. I wanted to say the Primordial at the end because we didn't actually reach the stretch goal of the Primordial, but we really wanted to include it because we got so much positive feedback from the community, and we want to add it on top of it.
There are those mythic paths who the inspiration of which derives from classic D&D tropes like the Death Knight, the Lich, the Demoniac. These are the mythic paths who have this dual nature. They turn undead through the mythic path, or they turn fiendish and stuff. And then there are the mythic paths that derive from stories that we all grew up with. For instance, the Colossus is inspired by the Epic of Gilgamesh, Hercules, as we mentioned before, Samson. It's effectively a super strong guy, unreasonably strong guy, who has a bane that will deprive them of their strength, like Samson's hair, for instance. I can't say I have a personal favorite, but I kind of like it for different reasons. Like they serve a different aspect of my imagination.
For the record, the mythic path that we were missing was the Wonder Maker, which is basically someone who creates an epic artifact. As for your question, I differentiate it in my mind into my mechanically favorite and my thematically favorite. While also, as Nikos, these are our babies, so we cannot truly choose something that, outshines the others. I have a slight thematic preference for the Death Knight because I'm edgy, but I also really like the mechanics of the Prophet and how a Prophet may work in a game that hugely depends upon cooperative storytelling. I'm very excited about how it came out because I believe that it works, and it was a pretty big challenge to make it feel natural and not invasive to the DM's story.
Now, you could have practiced with adventures toward the end, and instead you have 120, at least 120 mythic trials for characters, which I think is really fascinating. That it almost gives you, it makes me feel like this is like makes me running a game, makes it it gives me flexibility to create my own mythical story out of this. Is that what you were going for with these options?
Yes, like rather than give an adventure module, because like my tastes are not towards that kind of play. Because when you read through an adventure module, you must be absolutely certain that you understand what you have to do. You cannot improvise and you cannot give in to the moment. There is no improv theater going on there. And there is no psychodrama because you're doing a very set thing. If you kill off the wrong NPC, for example, you might encounter bugs down the way. So what we wanted to do is create a huge plug and play environment where you can get inspired or use things as they are and create your own image. Like take whatever you wish from this thing. Everything is a standalone element. Like you could go through the mythic trials and create a campaign of yours without ever introducing the mythic paths to your game. Should you want to do that, you could use the villains in your own campaign without including the mythic paths at all. So or the legacy system by itself. So everything is created in a way that you can plug and play it as you see fit and as it is personally suiting you in particular and your story.
Yeah, and as we created this system and we started filling the pages, etc., a very intuitive system came up, which you basically, the DM can determine what, alongside with their players, of course, what kind of mythic paths will be introduced into the campaign. Then, after the mythic paths are selected, the DM can pick and choose some mythic trials, and then finally, they can choose a nemesis, which we have not talked about it now, but it's basically the ultra big bad evil person. And choose a mythic nemesis that will antagonize the characters. And this, in and of itself, just by making these choices, you have a fully fleshed out campaign waiting for you. And, these mythic trials, some of them are specific, some of them are a bit more vague, so that we can, as Nico said, they can be plug and play. You do not need to create a new campaign to play Exordium Origins of Mythos. You can introduce the book into your own existing campaign, and it will largely remain, it will be a nice continuation.
So I see you have the legacy, a brand new legacy system. Is that what you mean when it comes to creating your own stories? Is this like a tool for dungeon masters to help pace this out?
Yes, so the legacy system, what it does is that it gives you a score of fame or infamy, depending on the ethics of your actions. It comes off either through the mythic trials that you accomplish or the deeds and the impact that they have. This is also a tool that helps the DM discern how recognizable are the characters, for better or for worse, how much following they might potentially attract, how much adversity, what kind of favors they might be given wherever in the world they go, and also the further they go from the place that they committed their great deeds, the less recognizable they are. All this is encompassed in the legacy system, as well as this particular threshold where they start stepping on other people's toes. Like they grow such a big legacy that then is the part where the nemesis comes in is this, that, okay, your deeds are starting to mess with my own schemes, and therefore I will become your enemy.
Let's talk about the bad guys, the mythic antagonists. Tell us what you have here exactly for dungeon masters.
First of all, we have 15 mythic nemesis and 10 mythic monsters. The nemesis are campaign-defining villains. They're the Voldemort to your Harry Potter. They plague the group from the very beginning, not through direct combat encounters necessarily, but through their assets, their means, their very existence. The monsters, the mythic monsters, are more like arc-defining villains. So let's say that to apprehend your nemesis, you need a very particular artifact held by a mythic monster. So apart from the high-end stat blocks that the nemesis feature, they also come with a whole portfolio of what they want to do, how they want to impact the world, and how they might get correlated to your own story as a character. Why would they be opposed to you? What could you possibly do for them to notice you and wish to apprehend you? And sometimes the mythic monsters are also the lieutenants of the mythic nemesis, let's say. So there are also correlations between them through the book. Sometimes they reference one another as potential story arcs.
Yeah, and these mythic antagonists, they have a way to truly affect the campaign, even just by including them, even if the DM just includes them in the world, they have the so-called mythos effect. And they can, for example, the Drogue Horde, which is basically an army of undead wandering aimlessly in the frigid north, should the DM introduce this villain or this this horde in the campaign, they would affect certain mechanics of the world. For example, one of them could be the Restless Dead, which whenever a creature dies, they have to roll a d20, and on a 20, they rise as a zombie 24 hours later. So even just by including these creatures in your world, the world changes. And this is something that I believe truly leans on the mythic aspect of it, because the scope is suddenly so much bigger and the stories are suddenly so much more, the stakes are higher. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Using the example that Nicolas mentioned, the Draugr Horde, for example, is, think Game of Thrones, the White Walkers awaken. The entire world is not the same because the White Walkers awakened. Everyone cares about that. It's a big thing. So think of the Nemesis as entities that normally, for a good story to be balanced, they would never exist altogether in a world. They're just too big to have plays at the same time.
And I see you also have some additional materials with this book. You have like the Deck of Fates. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Deck of Fates was also designed by Othon, my friend. It's a deck of 16 cards, tarot-like cards, along with a booklet that gives you a way to spread them in order to do little auguries as a mini game with your friends. You could do it outside the environment of a TTRPG, or you could do it in a game and create narratives from it. For instance, as a storyteller, you could present a fortune teller that uses this deck, and without having anything prepared, create a potential future through the spread, like forging a prophecy in the making, let's say.
That's awesome. What is an epic campaign, an epic quest without a prophecy involved in some way? This sounds really amazing. What is the status right now with because this has already been backed? This is already a successful Kickstarter. Where are we right now in the process of print and PDF?
So we are basically at the process of finishing the digital version of the book. A lot of our backers have already seen most of it through our Discord server, where we play tested with it, or we play tested the book with them. We have already gotten some samples for the dice that we are going to be printing. Production is moving smoothly, and we are planning to soon drop the digital PDF for the backers. And after we do that, we will be sending the book to be printed. I should mention that we now have a second wave. It's basically, we have opened the pre-order page. It's basically the last chance for people to pre-order Exordium. We have partnered with BackerKit, and we have a page where people can get everything that we already offered through Kickstarter before we go into full production.
We are also receiving, through the Discord server, we have received and are still receiving enormous support by our backers and the community. They are proofreading, they are discerning like grammatical issues, typos, punctuation, everything. So I am literally every day, I go into the Discord server, I see what's new, and I fix the book through these amazing people's efforts. And this is one of the most heartwarming things that have happened to me. Like the engagement of these people and the involvement is beyond my wildest expectations. And I'm truly grateful for it.
Yeah, as a small team, it's the first time that we are exposed to something like that. We have been posting books on, we have been uploading books on DM's Guild in the past. We are no longer doing that. But DM's Guild does not allow you to build an actual community with the people that support you. And Kickstarter has helped a lot with this. And, being embraced by the community and seeing that people actually care about the things that we are writing is a very surreal feeling.
Yeah, I find that when you're a publisher, there are two great joys. There's the joy of you're seeing your book being printed, and then the joy you see others have from your works. And that, congratulations, that's really awesome. They get to experience both of that. So yes, I will put links in the description below for anyone that's interested in pre-ordering while they can this amazing book. Thank you both for not only just talking about this book, but introducing me to this book, because this is fascinating. This is I can't wait to get a hard copy of this somehow and just go through it. It's great work, definitely great
Thank you
work,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you for also. Okay, sorry, go
Oh
ahead.
no, go ahead.
Thank you for also giving us the spotlight and the chance to discuss about it, because if there's something that we love about this this book after we wrote it, it's to talk about it. We really have a lot of passion for this project, and our resources are very limited as a team, and we've put everything we had into this. So it's always exciting and fascinating for us to see people recognize that this is not awful. This is great work, and see people appreciate it is very rewarding. Yeah.
Yes, we were prepared to write it, but we were never prepared that at least one person out there would appreciate it. So it always comes out as a shock.
Yeah.
Well, viewers, again, all the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next time.